So the Nikon ZR recently came out, and it is a full frame pocket cinema camera, and it's also the first official collaboration between Nikon and Red. And it's actually looking like a possible alternative to more expensive cameras like the Sony FX3. And as someone who's been shooting on the Sony FX3 for almost 4 years now, I just wanted to share my thoughts and perspective on it. If you're new to the channel, I just wanted to say welcome. I'm Victor Melcher, filmmaker and YouTuber, and if you do want to see more videos, be sure to like and subscribe. All right, so the Nikon ZR is a full frame compact cinema camera, much like the Sony FX3 and the Sony ZV-E1, with a similar body style, except it doesn't have a deep grip or quarter 20s around it like the Sony FX3. It shoots up to 6K 60 frames per second in Red RAW, and you can also shoot 120 frames per second in 4K, but that's gonna have a 1.5 times crop. It has a dual card slot, but that's gonna be located in the battery port, and the memory card options are micro SD and CF Express, which in my opinion, that's just a little bit weird. And it costs about $2,200, which makes it a really competitive choice, especially compared to the $4,000 price tag of the Sony FX3 now. So for the camera body, I really like that it has a compact design. I am such a big fan of these compact cinema cameras, especially as a solo filmmaker. If you're just doing things by yourself, I think having a smaller setup is going to be more beneficial than having to completely rig out a camera. It has a 4-inch LCD, which sounds like a dream, honestly. On my Sony FX3, I just wish it had a slightly larger LCD because it's 3 inches. And when you're looking at a camera monitor, 1 inch makes a pretty big difference. So that's really great on Nikon's part. One thing I don't love is the lack of a camera grip on the Nikon ZR. And because it's a full frame camera, most of the lens options are going to be pretty big, which is going to make the camera pretty front heavy if you don't plan on rigging it out, which this is a camera that I think would really thrive if you just have it pretty bare bones. However, SmallRig already made a solution to this with their little handle grip extension. So if I was picking up the Nikon ZR, I would definitely pick up that little grip extension. Now for the lack of a grip, I'm not sure if Nikon didn't want the ZR to have too similar of a body to the Sony ZV-E1, but I would love to see a more traditional grip in the Nikon ZR Mark II, and that would actually give room to potentially add a full-size SD card slot. It does have a micro HDMI port rather than a full-size HDMI, which I have seen a few people mention that they do not like. However, for me, I'm primarily making solo short films and YouTube videos where having a compact, fast, and light setup is way more important than having a big monitor attached to the top of the camera. And on my Sony FX3, I haven't even used an external monitor in probably like 2 years now. If I do need to use an external monitor, I'll just use the Sony Creator app and monitor and control the camera from my phone. Now for the resolution and frame rate options, I think it's incredibly impressive what they packed into the Nikon ZR. And you can get that well-loved red color science when shooting Red RAW, but the problem is if you aren't shooting RAW, then you're gonna have to shoot in traditional N-Log, which I haven't graded personally, but I'm assuming Red RAW is gonna be more flexible. However, I have shot RAW footage on my Blackmagic Pocket 4K and 6K, and the files are absolutely huge. And that is one thing I love about my Sony FX3. I get incredibly flexible 10-bit 422 files that are super small compared to any RAW file. For example, an 11 to 12 minute talking head clip that I would film for YouTube, it's only going to be around 8 to 9 gigabytes, whereas something like a clip that I shot in 6K B-RAW, that's going to be way larger and it's just going to take up so much more space. So if you are planning on purchasing the Nikon ZR specifically for the RAW capabilities, just know that you're going to have to invest into more storage and bigger SD cards. Now they did get over a huge hurdle when it comes to these mid-range $2,000 to $2,500 cameras, and that's the fact that you can shoot 4K 60 and 6K 60 with no crop, so that's absolutely amazing, and that's a huge box that they checked for me. Another great thing about the Nikon ZR is that a lot of people say that the autofocus is actually pretty good, which is really important for me as a solo filmmaker. There's been so many times when I'm shooting on my Sony FX3 and the autofocus is so good that it's almost like having a mini focus puller for me, and sometimes it really makes the shot. Or I can just rely on the tap to focus through the Sony Creator app, and I can get shots that normally wouldn't be possible to do on my own. So if the Nikon ZR is close to Sony's autofocus, that's another reason I would definitely be interested in picking up the ZR. One thing I'd really love to see for both Sony, Nikon, and every other brand that makes these compact full frame cameras is more compact zoom lens options, because some of the current options, even my Sigma 24-70, makes my Sony FX3 feel so front heavy. So I would just love to see more compact glass options for all of these full frame cameras across the board. Now the price of $2,200 $1,600 for all of the features you get that are packed in the Nikon ZR are really great and make this a really competitive camera option for someone looking for a compact full-frame cinema camera. And compared to the $4,000+ price tag of the Sony FX3, you can probably pick up a Nikon ZR, a lens, some filters, a half cage, and get started shooting with that camera ASAP. Whereas with the Sony FX3, it's probably gonna cost closer to $6,000 just to get started shooting with that camera to buy all the accessories. So overall, I think the Nikon ZR is a really promising camera, and I think it might be the best value for the price as of right now. If I didn't already own a Sony FX3 and I was in the market for a full frame pocket cinema camera, I would definitely look into the Nikon ZR. And I think most importantly, this camera is kind of a promise that Nikon will be a much more reputable brand in the future for video focused creators. However, as of right now, I just feel like Sony is very tried and true. It's reliable. They kind of already made it through their awkward phase of clunky menus and weird overheating issues. It's not gone on all cameras, but something like the Sony FX3, a lot of the issues that a lot of people would run into are completely gone. Sony's already innovated a good amount with cameras like the FX3, and for me, the FX3 is a camera that just simply works. It might not have all the fancy raw features and capabilities of these newer cameras, but more importantly, it works, it's reliable, autofocus is great. So really, if you want the best value and you don't mind some quirks, then I would maybe go with the Nikon ZR. But if money isn't an issue and you're outputting a ton of videos for both yourself and clients, then I would say the Sony FX3 still sits at the top for me. Anyways, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.